This is Local Edition. My name is Brad Pomerantz. We're joined today by Vince Sarmiento. He is a councilman in Santa Ana. And I'd like to speak with you, sir, about housing and affordable housing. But I don't mean affordable housing as it's used amongst politicos, which is low-income housing. I'm talking about housing that you and I can afford, meaning it's hard to buy a house these days.
It is, and by the way, thanks for having me here. And I think that housing at all levels is very difficult for us, for folks who are working, families. They're having difficulty, but I think right now the lending is so difficult. Qualifying for financing is tough.
I'm so glad you said that, because I know that in the last decade, maybe our lending laws got a bit too permissive. But for many of us, the pendulum has swung so far back the other way that even those with strong credit can have difficulty getting a loan when they should qualify.
Right. And, my background is as an attorney and a bankruptcy
attorney.
Right,
so you know from what you speak.
I've worked with lenders, and I know that we've, said, look, you have to have some protections and some, requisites in place, but you can't be so rigid and limited that you're not going to allow folks to be able to, buy their first home.
Right, but the challenge is particularly acute in Orange County, because Orange County, like so many coastal counties, does not have enough housing.
Right.
So as a result, you have this supply and demand curve going in the wrong direction. And in fact, I read that Orange County is one of the few counties, I'm not sure if this is a blessing or a curse, where your housing prices are exceeding the bubble from 2007.
And that's what's difficult for us, especially in Santa Ana, because our average median income in Santa Ana is much lower than the rest of the county.
Right.
So that impact that you're talking about hurts us even more, right? So for those of us who are blessed to be able to be even to consider a home that's at the median income level, for those folks who are below that, which we have many of in Santa Ana because our demographic, again, much lower on their AMI. So we're trying to help, and we're trying to do what we can because we have some good affordable housing policies in Santa Ana that are getting us some relief to some of those families that need it.
And let's talk about what the city of Santa Ana is doing, because the city as an entity is offering financing to assist lower income households to buy their first home in Santa Ana. So this is not affordable housing as we think about it. This is helping people get into market rate homes. Is that right?
It is, and it's making people realize the American dream, right? Which is to buy their first home. So there is a program in place that it's a 0% program.
Wow.
Goes up to about $40,000 for the closing costs and the deposit. So it does have some qualifiers.
Meaning the city will loan you $40,000 at 0%?
0%.
Is the city willing to come in as a second, or how does that work? Because what if you need more than $40,000?
Well, they'll have to take a second position because you have to qualify for the first mortgage.
Of course. So the city is the second by definition.
And the buyer will have to come in at least 3%. So the house has to be below $480,000, which is going to be a challenge as well in our market.
Well, in Orange
tough.
County, the average price is $651,000. And look, I mean, there are portions of Santa Ana where I'm sure it's much more than that. There are beautiful sections of Santa Ana, and there are sections that are more affordable. No,
right. There are plenty.
Right.
There's a diversity of homes available, but we've seen some zip codes in our city that were very challenged. They've gone up like 20-30%.
Wow.
So there is a crisis because the housing crisis impacts people in just living. But it also impacts us in being able to attract businesses and industries and jobs, right? Folks don't want to move into cities where there's not a housing supply. It's not just specific to Santa Ana, but it's countywide that we're seeing this problem.
Do you have land available? I mean, Santa Ana is pretty well built out, no?
Well, this is what we're trying to do, and we've done this We've done this with one development. We're doing about 1,200 units of rentals. It's not really homes, but we're doing some conversion of light industrial areas into residentials, which is tough because you don't want to lose that manufacturing base that you have.
But important because we have a rental crisis as well. I mean, in your sister county, Los Angeles, the rental vacancy rate is under 3%. I don't think Orange County is too far off.
Right, no, we're close. And right now, we're probably the most densely populated city in the state.
Right.
We have an incredible amount of folks, 330,000 in excess of that, living in a 27 square mile area.
And I want to talk about another element of housing, and that is the homeless crisis we're facing. We know that Sister County Los Angeles is now the homeless capital of America, but I am sure that with LA County being just up the road, that Orange County is feeling the effects of homelessness.
We're feeling it very, very acutely, because I've gone to Washington, sat with Secretary Castro from HUD, and spoke to him about our specific problem, because most county seats are the ones who absorb these issues because the services tend to land there. So if you see counties, you go to their seat of the county, San Francisco, Los Angeles, other areas. So the relief is there, and that's where the concentration of folks tend to be. The problem with us is that really it's not the primary focus of the city to address these social needs and services.
It's a county issue.
It really is a county issue. We've tried to dedicate monies. We've tried to do some creative things like convert some hotels, and there's one on First Street in Santa Ana, which was a hotel that's been underperforming, really not operating as a hotel any longer. They rent, they've fallen into hard times and it's blighted. We've converted those for housing for the homeless, and the Secretary's priority is one that we believe, which is housing first, wrap services around those.
And I want to ask you about that, because I remember 10 years ago when we were talking about homelessness, there was a mandate. If you want to come into the shelter, you need to be sober. Now, that's a goal, but they need to get into the shelter to get the help to become sober.
Exactly.
So that's where Housing First comes in?
Exactly. I think the idea is now, and I think we've seen some successes, is let's house folks. Let's get, because now you're not talking about, individuals or just men. You're talking about mothers and children. And if they're on the street, how do you get services to those folks?
Where are you getting money for the wraparound services?
We're working with some of our nonprofit providers. We provide monies through the community development block grants to a lot of our networks. We're blessed to have networks that help us.
Right. Faith-based?
Faith-based and nonprofit. So what we do need, though, is we desperately need help from the county, because they get $22 million a year to address the homeless issue. They get about $160 million a year for rental assistance. So we want to partner with them. We want them to help, especially in the first district where we are. It's a big, big problem, because it's right where the offices where the county has its board offices. So look, you can't ignore the problem. And let me just give you a real quick example. Right across the street in our civic center is our only large main public library. Kids are having to crawl over homeless families to get to the library to be able to study. It's really a shame. It's shameful for all the county.
But it's funny, because in so many communities we're seeing homeless where we haven't seen them before, and at one level you feel fear, but at the other level you feel compassion.
Exactly.
And so when you're stepping over the homeless family at the library, the flood of emotions, you don't know what to do.
Look, and we're getting calls nonstop from our business owners, our residents, saying, can you do something about this? We can't police our way out of this, because homelessness is not a crime. It's not an offense.
It's not.
So my plea to our friends at the county is to say, let's work together to provide services throughout the county, not just concentrated in Santa Ana, because we want to do our share, but it's not fair that one city should be burdened with that sole responsibility.
In our final moments, there's a bond on the ballot that will provide $2 billion for permanent housing for the mentally ill. Will Santa Ana look to access some of those funds?
I'm going to Washington because I need to advocate for all these efforts, anything that's on the table.
His name is Vince Sarmiento. He is a councilman in Santa Ana, California. My name is Brad Pomerantz. Thank you for joining us on Local Edition.